Okay, now we will ask the people who were in favor of this article to please stand and show your little, what is it, fuchsia? Is this the color tonight? What do we call it? Red. Oh, cherry red. Okay. Show that and you'll be counted. Thank you very much. Bonding my pay, they're going to pay me over the next 15 years. I don't believe you can either. I think they've done something illegal. Excuse me? Okay, we'll take the count on the no side now. Would all opposed please stand? Well, I made 2 or 3 good enemies here tonight.
With the moderator's indulgence, while the count is being made, I just wanted to advise the voters that the Board of Selectmen at their meeting on April 19th will bring up the question of voting for the special election for the override that town meeting voted and asked for last night, and there will be a period during that meeting for any public comment, anyone who wishes to address the board. Thank you. April 19th.
There's one advantage to being late. No, my youngest is 29, so. No, sir. 32. You got a long time ahead of you.
Well, I don't have a watch for my bedroom door. Seriously contemplating.
Put one on there.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Could you explain what what might happen after this, so that people understand what the possibilities might be in terms of leaving or not leaving and bringing this thing back up or forgetting about it?
We'll go tonight probably until someone moves to adjourn. I would expect someone would do that around 10:30 or so. So we probably have another hour or so to go tonight. I think we get through quite a few articles because there's... Oh. What, reconsideration? Oh, go right ahead. I thought maybe that was the moderator's job. It's okay with me.
I just want to assure all the people that are here tonight, we heard loud and clear, and we wanted the opportunity to bring it to town meeting. We will not, I assure you, bring it up. This was the American way, and I also want to say to all the people that are here who are looking forward to these homes, we are here and we will find you a home. So thank you all. Thank you.
Did that satisfy you? Because other people can bring it up. I mean, do you want to know? Well, no, that was a real explanation. There's just another part of it, and that is that someone can bring it up now, and if you bring it up now, it takes 2/3 of the voters here to decide to bring it up, a positive vote. If we leave tonight and someone decides, in their infinite wisdom, to bring it up whenever we meet again, that's also possible. It needs to be posted with, I think, 8 hours' notice at the town hall, and it comes back for a vote, and it takes 3/4 to pass at that time. Very hard vote to get, by the way, 3/4. Particularly if you can't get enough, 2/3 to begin with. The vote is 171 yes, 212 no. The motion has lost. Okay, let us see. Article 35, we passed by consent. Article 36, we passed by consent. Article 37, we passed by consent. Article 38, we passed by consent. Article 39, we've got to do. That was on the consent calendar, but it was held. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a 1-minute recess while people leave. I'm really sorry to see people leaving. I thought this was a pretty good session. My ego is not going to take this, Dave, with too many more people leaving. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and I'd ask the people who are staying, let's sit down, we'll get on with the business of the meeting, and the people that are leaving, I would ask them to leave as quietly as they can. Article 39, Mr. Mullen moves that the town accept as a public way the street listed in the article as laid out by the Board of Selectmen according to the plans on file with the town clerk, and authorize the Board of Selectmen to take the fee or easements for drainage, utility, or other purposes where shown on said plan or described in the order of layout. Do I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Mullen.
Could we just ask if the person or persons who held this have a particular question, will respond to it? Otherwise, the selectmen recommend the article.
Anybody wish to speak on the article? They don't. Let's vote on it. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The motion is carried unanimously. Article 40, Charter Road sidewalk easements were passed by consent. 41 was passed by consent. 42 is the West Acton Village General Business and Limited Business Districts in West Acton. It's a zoning article. It takes 2/3 to pass. Article 42. Mr. Schubert moves that the zoning bylaw be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Schubert, do you wish to speak to your motion? Yes.
Mr. Moderator, I'd ask permission to present a brief overview of the West Acton Village Plan, which pertains to Article 42, 43, 44, and 45.
Okay, all right, so all of these articles are tied together, and you want to overview them all. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to present to you an overview of the West Acton Village Plan. My name is Trey Schubert. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Acton Planning Board. I have a little cold tonight. And I'm also the Chairman of the West Acton and South Acton Village Planning Committees. I'd like to introduce the members of the committee: Dennis Ahern, Rosalie DeQuattro, Denise Glasser, Ann Jackson, Marvin Norman, who's actually a resident of Stowe, but who owns the Neshoba Valley Travel Service in West Acton, Susan Boston, and Ron Isaac. This committee met twice every month for the last 2.5 years to prepare the West Acton Village Plan. My sincere thanks to each of them, as well as Mrs. Donna Jacobs, the Assistant Town Planner, and Roland Bartle, Town Planner. I would also like to thank you, the residents of Acton, for your support, comments, questions, and suggestions during the planning process, and to various town boards and departments for their review of the plan. The committee is grateful for your participation. As a matter of fact, we had a survey response rate of over 40%, which statistics will tell you is unheard of. It's clear that people really take an interest in the West Acton Village District. One of the action recommendations of the 1991 Acton Master Plan was to create a detailed planning document for each of the 4 village districts. The West Acton Village Plan is the first to be completed and has been adopted by the Acton Planning Board as an addendum to the 1991 Acton Master Plan. The final plan document is available for your review at the Memorial and Citizens Libraries and at the Acton Planning Department. The executive summary of the West Acton Village Plan, which is this document here, was available at the information tables tonight at town meeting. The heart of this plan is an action plan, which includes objectives and action recommendations which serve as a roadmap, if you will, of how to achieve the major goals. These goals, objectives, and action recommendations are directly linked to the survey responses received from West Acton residents and from input received at 3 public hearings. Also included in the plan is additional information which includes an implementation program, an inventory and analysis section, appendices, all of which provide information and data on the current resources in and around West Acton Village. We believe that the West Acton Village Plan is a comprehensive planning document that will serve as a guide for the commercial and residential development of West Acton over the next 20 years. Thank you, Roland. When implemented, this plan will enable future growth within West Acton Village, ensuring diversity of businesses while preserving the village character and the unique environment in the surrounding community. Tonight, the West Acton Village Planning Committee will present the following 4 zoning articles which support the major goals and objectives of the West Acton Village Plan. In short, they propose a reconfiguration of the existing West Acton Village District and the creation of a new village residential zoning district. Together, they are designed to help maintain the character of the village, to encourage small business development, to promote diversity in housing, increase pedestrian and vehicle safety and circulation, protect our natural resources, and improve parking and landscaping. Mr. Moderator, thank you for this opportunity. I'm now ready to move on to Article 42. Article 42 proposes amendments to the West Acton Village District. Part A reduces the size of the West Acton Village District, which is this area right here, to the area which is now the core business center of West Acton. Which is this area here. Part B amends the use regulations in the West Acton Village District as shown in the proposed column. On the right, or on the in the current column are the current uses, and we proposed some minor modifications. The obvious question would be, why change the current West Acton Village District? One of the results of the West Acton resident survey was an overwhelming desire to maintain the character of the village, specifically the mixture of businesses to residences. Under current zoning, I'm going to put up an overhead slide here. Under current zoning, there's potential for an increase of just over 100,000 square feet of commercial space. This is current zoning. However, much of this increased space results from the conversion of dwelling units to commercial space. To maintain the current commercial and residential mix in West Acton, this amendment doubles the amount of building floor area from 20% to 40% of the size of the lot. It allows a further increase to 70% of the size of the lot if at least one-half of the additional floor area is for residential use. It limits the size of individual businesses and establishes new dimensional regulations, including a maximum front yard requirement to ensure street orientation of buildings. It eliminates the side and rear yard setbacks to allow building designs and layouts appropriate to a village setting, and sets a minimum height requirement to ensure compatibility in the village district. Thank you.
Other comments? Comment from the Board of Selectmen, Mrs. Fenton.
I'm not going to add anything to what the planning board has to present, but I'd just like to take this opportunity briefly to first express our appreciation for the committee's patience. They were prepared to come to you at a fall town meeting, and they've patiently waited to their first opportunity. But it's given them time to work through some of the questions and issues that had come up and actually address them. And I would like to compliment them on an exemplary planning process, and particularly on the participatory process that they've gone through in developing this plan. The selectmen enthusiastically endorse this article.
Does the Finance Committee wish to make it? Yes.
The Finance Committee also recommends this article.
Thank you. Other comment? Seeing nobody standing, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried unanimously. We'll move to Article 43. Mrs. DeQuatro moves that the zoning bylaw be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. DeQuatro.
This map shows the West Acton Village planning area as it appears now under current zoning. Article 43 proposes to create a new zoning district in West Acton called Village Residential. This is the map, shows the same area as the proposed Village Residential District. In this new district, most of the land uses will remain unchanged. The exceptions are new construction of multifamily dwelling units would be allowed by special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals up to a limit of 4 units, and providing that 1 unit is owner-occupied. Certain business uses, which are allowed now as home occupations, would continue to be allowed in residences, providing that the business use occupies no more than 500 square feet of net floor area, that the property owner resides in the building, that parking is located to the side or rear of the building, that hours of operation are observed as 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Monday through Saturday, and for retail, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday through Saturday, and that exterior lighting be limited to these hours. This new district will require less lot area and less frontage, significantly reducing the number of non-conforming lots. The proposed Village Residential District will set a minimum lot area of 15,000 square feet, where 20,000 is required under current zoning, and a minimum frontage of 50 feet, where 150 is now required. The net effect of these changes, we feel, will ensure continuation of the village atmosphere in West Acton, which residents told us overwhelmingly they want to preserve.
Comments? Mrs. Fenton?
The selectmen recommend this article.
Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee also recommends this article.
Yes, ma'am.
Elizabeth Lyons, Central Street. I support this article 100%. I live in the Village Residential
I'm
District.
sorry, ma'am, would you speak a little louder, please?
Elizabeth Lyons, Central Street.
Thank you.
I support the article 100%. I do, however, think that it's restrictive in terms of retail operations. I'd like to see it more in line with the guidelines of what the current communities are doing, and that the hours of retail not be restricted to be closed on Sundays. I don't know what the formality with this is. Do I propose an amendment?
You can if you wish.
I'd like to propose an amendment that the hours of business not be limited to
Let's see if we can get to the right part of the article. Can you give me a
Okay,
cite in the article? What section?
It's Article C.2, number 8, line 11 and 12.
Wait a minute, C.2.
It's down at the bottom. And it currently reads, except hours of retail sales shall be limited to 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday. And I propose that we add something to the effect of, and Sunday, according to the state of Massachusetts blue laws. And the reason for this is in the
No, wait a
future.
minute, I just want to check on something. Your amendment is to add after the word Saturday and Sunday according to Massachusetts blue laws.
Right.
Just let me just check something. Okay, the amendment is fine, and if it will be seconded by somebody? All right, now you probably would like to speak to your amendment, and you're entitled to. You're not entitled to skip up there, but speaking is okay, skipping is out.
One of the reasons that I'm excited about the village plan is that it does encourage small businesses. It's self-limiting in that you can have a 500 square foot business, but the fact of the matter is that retail in this country is struggling, and people shop on Sundays, and the hours are very limited, and anyone who's got a business out of their home isn't going to want to be open anything other than a couple hours on Sunday, and the blue laws, I believe, take care of most of that. And I was just talking to someone who said that the blue laws are probably going to be repealed and changed so that any business can be open on Sunday. And I'm afraid if you put it in a zoning ordinance that it's totally limiting, and that no one would be able to open on Sunday.
Okay, other comment to this amendment? Yes, ma'am.
Lois Musser, I just have a question. What is the reason that Sunday hours were not included? Is there something I should think about? Sounds good to me, but I can't think of another reason.
Yeah, the reason why we limited hours on Sunday was primarily because this is still a neighborhood. It's a surrounding neighborhood to the core business district. So we said because it was a neighborhood and small businesses, we didn't feel that small business owners would be open, so we left it off. That's the only reason.
Other comment on the amendment? On the amendment, yes, sir.
John Paven, resident of Windsor Avenue. I'm also a, excuse me, a member of the planning board. I'm also a member of the planning board.
Just speak a little closer to the microphone.
I am a resident of Windsor Avenue and one of the lots that's in the proposed new district. One of the reasons I supported the new district with some retail included is because I think it adds to the overall vitality. But it is, as Trey just mentioned, a residential district, and there's small lots, and there needs to be some limitation on that. Most of the lots in the district are 10 or 20,000 square feet, and a small component, 500 square foot per lot, is appropriate, but I think it's got to have some limitation on the hours, so it's not overburdening on the neighborhood.
Other comment on the amendment, Mr. Cady?
Yes, for the planning board, are there other districts, like East Acton Village,
does not have restriction on Sundays, or Burger King would have to close. And is this, and would this impose a hardship on there is people who have businesses in the center right now, and one of those is a convenience store. And for instance, there is an East Acton convenience store which is open, and I don't see any other part of the town in which there is a restriction on the Sunday operations of small stores in the town. And unless I'm wrong, could you explain how that compares, how this compares to the other parts of the town, and what would the impact be on the current business owners, and what was their statement as to whether or not they will go along with this?
Sure, I'd be happy to respond to that. It's a good question. I will try not to make you all zoning experts tonight, but there will be a quiz at the end of the presentation that I'll be happy to give. First of all, let me highlight this area right around here is the proposed village residential district. Right now, a lot of that is R2 zoned, so that's where we came up with a neighborhood setting. This area here is really the core business district in West Acton, and that is separate of this village residential district. Business is allowed on Sunday, and this residential district, or this village residential district proposal, does not impact the hours of operation. The hours of operation in Acton are governed by the state blue laws as well as by the Board of Selectmen.
Other comment on the amendment? Let's vote it. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. Oh, my goodness. Let's do that again, please. Would all in favor say aye? Aye. Opposed, say no. No. All in favor, please stand. Thank you. Would you please be seated? Would all opposed, please? Opposed to the amendment, please stand. I say the amendment's carried. Yes. No, 2/3 is not required to amend, just a simple majority. Now it has been amended. Is there any other comment on the motion as amended? Yes. Mr. Gates.
My name is Walter Gates, Wood Lane. I have a question about section C.2, paragraph 7. This indicates that one of the dwelling units shall be occupied by the owner of the property. My question is, if the occupant either dies or is forced to leave for some circumstance, must the property be sold? And if so, how long a grace period is allowed?
It's another good question. To be honest with you, we haven't thought that far into the detail. One of the comments that we got from the public hearings was the fact that people felt that in this village residential district, they did not want multifamily dwellings being built and not being lived in, because there was a general sense that people felt that owner-occupied properties are taken care of very, very well maintained. So we, after much debate and much discussion, added the owner occupancy requirement. It's a standard, and beyond that, we would hope that we could adhere to the standard. Certainly, we'd want to be flexible. It is an existing requirement in other districts right now, in other zoning districts. So, I would say I don't know if there's any precedent right now in those other districts, but we were just going on what the wishes of the citizens were, as well as what the current zoning is.
The lady at the front microphone.
Ella Crafts and Birchridge.
I'd like to know,
I think we can't hear you. Just tilt that microphone down a little bit. Thank you. Not that much.
Ella Trafton, Birchridge. I would like to know, are those Sunday hours applicable to the residential district? I mean, the green part? So if somebody was running a business in a residential business section on a Sunday, what could you do about it? Go to the selectmen? I mean, if it was a really pain in the neck.
Mr. Schubert.
Yeah, thank you. The amendment that was just voted basically changes the proposed amendment to allow business hours of retail business in that village residential district, the new district in the green area here, commensurate with whatever the blue laws state, and that would be by right. So they would be able to open whatever the blue laws allow them to open on Sundays. You have to keep in mind that the types of businesses, this severely restricts the businesses to 500 square feet, which is not a lot of square feet. So one of the things that we did some research on was that we don't see a lot of average daily trips in most of the occupations that could be considered. But it would, on Sunday businesses, it would by right, it is amended to allow it by right on Sundays.
I understand that. Is there any redress?
Mr. Moderator?
Not,
Yes, one moment. Let's let Mrs. Fenton make a statement. Mrs. Fenton?
Well, I believe the question was asked whether you could go to the Board of Selectmen, and I believe the answer is you could always come to the Board of Selectmen, but they would not be able to do anything. If the zoning bylaw allowed them to be open, the Selectmen wouldn't have any basis to say they had to be closed. The reference to the Selectmen's control over hours was only, I believe, because of the night hours bylaw, which is people can come to the Selectmen if they want to be open all night.
Mr. Swenson.
Mr. Moderator, I have one question here. As I understand it, this will reduce the frontage requirement from 150 to 50 feet and also reduce the lot size requirement. The question is, by so doing, does this permit further expansion or building? Does this make an unbuildable lot buildable, for example, and to what extent?
let me show you the current build-out conditions and show you what existing conditions are and the build-out conditions. Right now, we have 112 parcels and 208 dwelling units. Under R2, we have a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet and 150 feet of frontage. With those conditions right now in the district as it is today, you could add 129, or wait a minute, you could build an additional 17 lots under those conditions. Under our village residential proposal, by going down to 15,000 square feet and by making it 50 feet of frontage along the street, you have a total of 139 lots or a potential of 27 lots. So what we're saying is there's 10 additional lots under this zoning. It's not an awful lot of lots. Now, one of the things that this does is this brings a number of non-conforming lots into conformance with this zoning proposal. And this is currently what we have. Of the 112 lots proposed for rezoning, 78 of those lots have less than 150 square feet or 150 feet of frontage. 66 lots are smaller than 20,000 square feet in area. Under the village residential district, reduces it significantly down to 9% that would have less than 50 feet of frontage, and 47% are smaller than the 15,000 square feet in area. What that means is, as the village developed, originally back in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, homes were closer together, lot sizes were smaller. And what we're doing is we're trying to create this village district to reflect the current lot sizes now and bring it into conformance.
So it sounds like we're going to create more congestion in an already congested area.
Other comment? Yes, gentleman at the back.
All right, Bob Guba of West Acton. I'd like a clarification on how the new wording is going to be on the amendment we just voted for. It was sort of nebulous, just mentioned Sunday hours, but in the article here, there are two different time periods. Now, are they going to change? I'd like to be specific here in how the new wording is going to be before we vote.
All right. Well, we already voted on the new wording, and then now we're going to vote on the motion with the new wording in it.
Yes, but
let me read it.
I want to know what the new wording is.
I'll give it to you right now. The new wording would be, except hours of retail sale shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday, here comes the amendment, and Sunday, according to the Massachusetts Blue Laws. And that's the end of that sentence, and it goes on, exterior lighting fixtures, etc.
That also applies to the earlier phrasing on business operation. There's business operation and there is retail sales. There are two different categories there.
You want to know if it applies to both?
Yes.
All right, I'll ask Mr. Schubert. In his opinion, does it apply to both?
I would say that, yes, it does apply to both.
Yes, gentleman at the back.
I have a little concern here in that it's with respect to the amendment that we just voted. And I'm not sure we really considered it, particularly in light of the response that was just made, in light of the fact that someone said that the blue laws could be repealed, which I've heard in other places. If in fact they're repealed or changed, how does that affect the language that we just put in? And I'm concerned with, in a sense, that the West Acton committee that has met twice a month for 2.5 years and structured this plan according to their desires, according to the communication with other people in the area, and have put this in place not with idle thinking, have had it changed here in a way that we're not quite sure how subsequent changes to Massachusetts state law could affect it. I could see the repeal of the blue laws actually requiring or allowing businesses in a residential area to be open any time on Sunday, which would be exactly the opposite of what they were planning. And I'm concerned, I don't know where the person was from who suggested the amendment to the amendment, but it's not very far to other places of business. There are quite a few other business areas within a mile or two distant from there, and I'm not sure that the action we took in amending the amendment is consistent with the desires of the group that's done the planning and the local residents of the area. I'm wondering if there's a way we can amend the amendment to the amendment.
Well, the answer to your question is that we have amended a motion, we haven't amended an amendment. But that's neither here nor there. You want to know if it can be amended again? If I judged it was an amendment, I would say you could. If I judged it was a reconsideration of an amendment that we've just passed, then the rules of reconsideration would apply. Amendment takes a simple majority, and a reconsideration, which I think is what you're really talking about, takes 2/3.
I guess I would ask for the opinion and expression of concern of the committee at this point. I mean, I think we owe it to them to defer somewhat to their perspective on this. If
Well,
this
with
is
respect to
acceptable
how we change this?
No, if what our motion to amend, or whatever it was,
Yeah.
is acceptable and desirable to them, given the effort that they put in to the planning on this, are you satisfied with where we are right now?
I think you probably saw in the vote when we stood against the amendment to the motion. And the reason for that is again, this village residential district its primary use is residential. But we wanted to encourage cottage business that would foster some vitality in that residential district. We were very concerned about night hours of operation. So we limited hours of operation from 7 to 7. Yeah, that's the one. And I think the position of the committee, and I'll let the other members, because all of these people live in that proposed village residential district, I think it's our position that we were against the amendment primarily because it's primarily a residential district, but we wanted to support business and vitality within that district.
I for one, personally believe that we should consider their desires and preferences here a little bit more than we did. 6 days of shopping out of 7 isn't unreasonable, and whether it's Saturday, Monday, Thursday, or Friday off for residents to not have parking in front of their houses, and even 500 square foot businesses, if they're successful and attractive, could bring 2, 10, 5, 6 cars there continuously 7 days a week. 1 day a week off isn't unreasonable.
I'm going to rule that if you want to change the action that the town meeting just took, that we're going to have a motion for reconsideration. And if you would like to make that motion, feel free to do so.
I do feel free to do so, and using the words you just suggested, I move that we reconsider what we just decided.
Well, I'd like to have it a little more proper than that, just for form's sake. Let's say you would like to reconsider the amendment that said, and Sunday, according to the Massachusetts Blue Laws. If that's what you want to do.
That's what I want to do.
I do this for $20. Why do I do this? This is ridiculous.
I make a motion to reconsider the
amendment
to the motion.
You're supposed to be giving it to me. I'm not supposed to be giving it to you. It's not the way it works.
You're the expert.
I know what you want. I think everybody knows what you want. I'll take a second to your motion to reconsider.
Okay.
No, it's...
I'm particularly concerned with tying it to the blue laws and the uncertainty and the change in the blue laws in the future that could upset the whole thing here.
Okay, is there any other comment on the motion to reconsider?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Ahern. Why don't you go to a mic? You have a great voice, but go to a microphone, please. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I just want to point out that it is not the wishes of this committee. This plan was developed, and those hours specifically were in response to citizen input at many, many public meetings over the past 2 years. And these are all things that the people who live in this proposed village residential district have given us as their input. This is not the committee's input.
I think we will begin tonight on Article 46, since we wound up with Article 45. Article 46 deals with a tract of land required for certain developments. A two-thirds vote is required. Mr. Hill moves that the zoning bylaw be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Hill, to your article, please. You do not have slides, do you? You've got one slide. You're going to make me move this thing for one slide? Okay. I hope so.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. There have been in the past situations where preservation of natural resources, open space, and general siting of homes, streets, and driveways in a subdivision could have been improved if lots on both sides of the street had been incorporated in one subdivision plan. As the amount of open space decreases in Acton with a corresponding increase in concern over natural resource preservation, similar situations could occur in the future. Additionally, some large tracts of land in Acton extend over more than one density zone. Current zoning requires the development in one zone be separate from the other. The proposal you have before you is to allow the planning board to consider land divided by a street as a single tract of land only if open space preservation is an integral part of the subdivision proposal. Also, where single tracts of land have more than one density zone overlay, to allow the planning board to calculate the total number of houses allowed in each zone, then cite those houses in the tract to best meet open space objectives. Again, this is to preserve open space. What I have here is an example where there's 10 acres of R8 zoning across the street from 10 acres of R4, divided by a street. It could be divided by a zoning boundary with conservation land next to the 10 acres of R8. What this proposal would allow the planning board to consider is to take the houses on this tract of land and move them onto across the street or across the zoning boundary to the lower part of land, and to connect the above plot of land with conservation land. This article broadens the planning board's opportunities to promote better land use planning and development design. It does this by giving the planning board discretion to allow all dwellings in an open space development or planned conservation residential community to be located on one side of the street and all common, or in one area of an open space development, and all common land which is to be preserved as open space to be located on the other side of the street or the other section of the lot of land. It is not a vehicle by which more houses than already possible under current zoning can be built. The article has specific safeguards against that. It is not a mandate or a guarantee. No one will be required to use it, nor will a developer be able to insist upon using it. And finally, it is not a vehicle to transfer development from undevelopable land to developable land. Thank you.
Comments from the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Lake.
The Board of Selectmen supports this article and urges your support.
Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee makes no recommendation on this article because it has no financial impact.
Comments? For him.
Dennis Ahern, 298 Central Street. Are you familiar with the proposed development on Central Street, the co-housing development?
Yes.
Would this have any effect on that? Because I understand at one point they were considering a parcel on the opposite side of Central Street to accomplish the open space requirements.
My understanding is the parcel on the other side of Central Street is entirely wetland. And in that case, it's undevelopable land, so it would not allow the transfer of development rights from that undevelopable land to development land. That's not possible under present zoning, and it's not possible under this.
So this doesn't change that at all?
This does not change that.
Okay.
Other comment? Seeing no. Yes, ma'am.
Does this only apply to affordable housing, or does it apply to any development?
It applies to any development. If there happens to be an affordable housing overlay district in any of the development area, that the bylaws under affordable housing also apply.
I don't know, I think it's a confusing article to read. It just makes me feel as if we're agreeing to increase the density somehow.
It doesn't increase.
That's what worries me.
I'm sorry.
That's what worries me. It just makes me feel as if we're increasing density, we're allowing that to happen.
The only way it would increase density in one area is to have another part of the tract or across the street be left permanently open. We can do that now on large tracts of land with open space development, where we put all of the development in one part of the tract of land and leave the other part permanently open. What this does is allow us to take across the street to be permanently open and move the houses that could potentially be put across the street into the development on one side of the street and leave the other side permanently open. It would never be able to be developed.
All right, seeing nobody standing, Mr. Swenson.
Yes, question regarding the open land. To whom, who would this be owned by? Would it be public? What is the access to this? And somehow in here I smell a developer's boondoggle again.
This was not proposed by any developer. It's not, there's no current development proposal that could use this. The open space would either be left in common ownership with the development, or if the town chooses and the developer chooses, it could become part of the town's permanently open space conservation land. That's happened in one of the articles, on this year's articles. There's another area in town that will probably come up next year for the same thing. Basically what this does is a number of open space developments in town that are taking large tracts of land and putting all of the development in part of that and leaving the rest of it permanently open. And if it's adjacent to conservation land, we usually encourage the developer to donate that land to the town and to expand the conservation land.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Seeing no one standing, we'll vote. Needs to be unanimous or counted. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. No. Aha. Well, let's try it again. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. No. Okay, with those opposed, please stand. I think there's enough people standing so that I can count you. I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 in, please. Don't jump up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I count 15 opposed. Would all in favor please stand? I count 75 in favor. Motion is carried. Let's see, Article 47, we've put that on the consent calendar and we've already dealt with it. I believe the same is true of Article 48. And I believe the same is also true of Article 49. So we'll move to Article 50, dealing with the changing of special permit requirement for common driveways or common drives. Requires a 2/3 vote. The motion under that article is Mr. Nemesky moves that the zoning bylaw be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Mr. Nemesky. Do you have slides?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The major advantage of the use of common drives for the town is fewer driveway cuts onto public ways from a parcel of land that can support development of several homes with separate driveways. After reviewing the history of common drive special permits for the past 5 years, the Planning Board believes that the common drive specifications can be written into a bylaw that will provide the necessary protections for the home buyer and to the town without the need for a case-by-case evaluation when up to 5 homes would be served by one common drive. We would ask your support for this article.
Finance Committee, I'm sorry, the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Hunter.
The Board of Selectmen is quite confident the Planning Board has considered this matter carefully. They've had the situation repetitively over the years. They have a common sense list of requirements. And this does lessen the administrative burden on the town for these smaller common drives, and the Board of Selectmen supports it.
Finance Committee?
Finance Committee has no recommendation on this article.
All right. Anybody, any voter? Mr. Swenson?
Yes, once again, Mr. Moderator, I smell a developer's boondoggle, only the smell is stronger. 6 versus 2, more building, more development, more houses on otherwise undevelopable lots, developing swampland, and so forth. I also note that it says a sidewalk shall be constructed along street frontage, whatever little street frontage there is between no place and no place else, which will cost us, of course, to maintain and to plow forever and ever and ever. I think this is a bad idea.
I don't think Mr. Swenson asked a question. Or did you, Mr. Swenson?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you just made a statement, so you don't need to respond to the statement.
I'd like to, if I may.
Well, anybody else wish to speak to the article first? Aronson.
Yes, Steve Aronson, 236 Newtown Road. May I just ask what the policy is for existing common drive areas that may or may not have all of these parts already taken care of? As changes to those drives come up, does the passage of this amendment now allow the planning board to insist on comparable changes as a quid pro quo?
A quid pro quo?
In other words, if we, in a private drive development that currently exists, for instance, don't have the width of the driveway that is now being proposed, and at the same time we go to the town for some other modification that meets the needs of the homeowners, does the town have the right to insist that one or more or all of these new changes be implemented in order for the homeowner to make the change on its existing driveway?
If an existing condition is there and you want to go beyond an existing 3, 4, 5, anything above 5, you'll have to come before us for a special permit. If you already have 3 and you want to go to a 4th, then you would have to meet these regulations that we're setting forth here, which are nothing more than what we're doing right now under our present rules and regulations. What we're doing is giving people by right what we do by special permit now. Now, anything that didn't meet these regulations, you would now go before the zoning board of appeals for variance if you couldn't meet these regulations.
May I follow up?
Yes, surely.
I'm on a private drive with already 5 homes, and the 5th home is fairly new and was subjected to many of these changes in order to accommodate a need that that 5th home had. My question to you is, now that we already have 5 homes on that common drive, if we wish to make a change to the driveway, for instance, are the rest of the changes that are being built in for proposal now likely to be implemented on us?
Only if you were adding another house to be serviced by that common drive.
Now, Mr. Tomeski, since no one else is standing, if you'd like to comment on Mr. Swenson's question.
Yes, I would. 2 things. This bylaw does not in any way give people rights to develop undevelopable land. It does not give them the rights to go into wetlands and fill them in and make lots where there are no lots legally now. And as far as sidewalks go, the town has made a conscious effort, and the planning board has for the past few years, and to the fact that we put it into our rules and regulations, and when the master plan suggested it, we want to get sidewalks connected as much as possible in the town. And this is one more tool for us to use to have that accomplished. Thank you.
Other comments? Seeing no one standing, we'll vote. All in favor of the motion as read under this article, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. I'll take it again. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, will all opposed please stand?
I count 6 noes. Would all in favor please stand? Counted 6 opposed, 75 in favor. The motion is carried. Article 51, we have already disposed of on the consent calendar. The same with Article 52, the same with Article 53. We'll deal with Article 54. Another zoning bylaw article dealing with associate members for planning board when acting as a special permit granting authority. Requires a 2/3 vote. Mr. Hill moves that the zoning bylaw be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Mr. Hill to the article. No slides. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. When the planning board acts as a special permit granting authority, as many of the 7 full-time members as possible need to be present at all public hearings and for the decision. Approval requires 5 affirmative votes, and only those members who have been at all public hearings on a special permit may vote. Public hearings are often continued over more than one meeting, so this commitment requires that at least the same 5 members be present at a number of meetings, often scheduled over a number of months. A variety of reasons may make this difficult: sickness, conflicts of interest, planned travel, vacation, or unplanned business requirements, or the resignation or the end of the term of members. In the extreme, it is possible for proponents' requests to be granted without planning board input if this were to occur. The planning board has a limited time in which to reach a decision after a proponent submits a special permit application. Minimally, it would require the proponent to grant a deadline extension for the decision date. What this proposal does is allow the chair of the planning board to designate one or both associate planning members to substitute for regular planning board members for specific special permit applications. This article is authorized under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A. Currently, the 2 associate planning board members who have been appointed to the board by the Board of Selectmen may act in an advisory capacity only to the planning board. They attend all meetings and participate in deliberations, but are not allowed to vote. This article would allow your planning board greater flexibility and improve its ability to respond to special permit applications. It is not an attempt to increase the size of the planning board. Current size is set at 7 regular and 2 associate members. It is not automatic. The chair must designate one or both associate members to act in the place of a regular member at the time of decision. It is also not applicable to regular subdivision hearings. These only require a quorum of 4 out of the 7 members. Also, the concern raised here is very real. 3 of the 7 current regular planning board members' appointments run out at the end of June. 2 have indicated that they are not interested in being reappointed. As a result, if there are any special permit hearings being continued between June and July, there's a real concern we will fail to have a voting quorum of 5 members present at all hearings. Unfortunately for this situation, this article must also be approved by the voters in a regularly scheduled election. So this article, if approved tonight, will not go into effect until a year or so from now at the earliest. Finally, this will leave 2 vacancies on the planning board. If there are any residents of Acton who are interested in becoming either a regular or associate member of the board, I urge you to submit your application to the Volunteer Coordinating Committee soon. That's it.
Comments from the Board of Selectmen? Mr. Light?
The selectmen support this article. This again is in line with trying to conduct town business a little more efficiently. These are all volunteer positions on the planning board. And with the recent changes in business in the country, we all find ourselves a little busier, forced to travel more often, to the point that this is becoming a real concern, and we would urge your support for this.
Finance Committee?
Finance Committee has no recommendation on this article. We believe it has no financial impact to the town.
Gentleman at the front microphone.
John Nam, Strawberry Hill Road.
I'm sorry, what was your last name, sir?
Now, I have one brief question. This would apply only to special permit requests, is that correct? And the associate members who would be sitting would be subject to the same rules as regular members. That is, they would have to attend all meetings in order to be eligible to vote. They couldn't, like, if, God forbid, a zoning board member dropped dead, you could not stick in an alternate and have them complete the application process.
Only if they had been at all of the special permit hearings prior to that.
Fine, thank you.
Mr. Aronson?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, this time I'd like to speak on behalf of the Acton Area Chamber of Commerce, of which I am president. I want to congratulate the Planning Board on coming up with an innovative idea that actually provides better customer service. And clearly in a time when time and money are important for decisions that affect businesses and residents in town, I think the opportunity to have a more timely hearing is very beneficial, and we thank you.
Other comments? Seeing nobody standing, we will vote. All in favor of the motion as read, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hill. You mean other people other than me have schedule conflicts at times, huh? Yeah. But I'm not appointing an alternate moderator. Might get the idea of running. Article 56, dealing with a change in the zoning of land in Acton. 55, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Thank you. 55, dealing with a charter change. Mrs. Stanton moves that the town charter be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? Second. Mrs. Stanton.
Mr. Moderator, I'm sorry, that was a change. I moved that rather than Ms. Fenton. And this is the...
Mr. Lake moves that the town charter be amended as set forth in this article. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Who seconded that? Good, great. Mr. Lake.
Thank you. This is the accompanying charter change that permits us to legally implement the vote that we just took in Article 54.
Comments from the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee, again, has no recommendation on this article. Again, it has no financial impact to the town.
Okay, all in favor of the motion as read, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Now 56. To change the zoning of land in Acton, Mr. Hirsch moves that the zoning bylaw be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? Moving. Yes. Okay, fine. Mr. Hirsch.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
My name is Robert Hirsch. I live at 52 Ethan Allen Drive.
Let me see. Who seconded it then? You can't move it in second.
Oh, sorry.
Very bad form. In fact, sometimes we have to discipline people very severely for doing that. Who seconded this article? Yes, all right, fine. Now, Mr. Hirsch.
My name is Robert Hirsch. I live at 52 Ethan Allen Drive in Acton, and I would like to ask this assembly to allow David Hirsch, who is not a citizen of the town, to speak in this article.
Would you just indicate why we would want to do that?
He is president of the corporation, Neshoba Valley Trailers, and this article is to ask permission to go ahead and do a zoning change to move the present dealership from Route 27 to Route 2A.
Okay, so he is an involved person in this parcel of land. All right,
Yes,
fine.
he is.
And his name was, I'm sorry?
David Hirsch.
David Hirsch. Would the town care to hear from David Hirsch on this article? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Mr. Hirsch. David Hirsch. So you gentlemen from Concord down there, how easy it is. They automatically give approval for this sort of thing. For people we like.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Neshoba Valley Trailers has been in Acton since 1967. And during that time, we've seen a lot of changes in the town. When it first started, there were no homes around us. It became grandfathered the property, and at this point in time, with the grandfathering, it's very difficult for us to make any changes there. What I'm trying to do is to build a new and more desirable facility for myself as well as for the town, because the site is not really pleasant to look at in its form right now. I'd like to move out of a district that is zoned North Acton Village, which, of course, now trailers would not be allowed to be zoned in that area, to a site that is more commercially oriented. The congestion that I'm posing on Quarry Road and 27 would be alleviated, and that is a fairly severe corner. And of course, I would enhance the look of North Acton by closing that recreational vehicle site in full upon moving. And after that, we would upgrade the facility and turn it into more of a village-type environment. The site that Got that? This is the site right here. At present, it is owned by one person, and that's the chiropractor. To put a pinpoint on where this is located, the Victorian that is falling down, that's the historic site, is right next to it right here. And the East Acton Shopping Center is in this area. Presently, 2B, or 28, excuse me, is zoned properly for my business to move there. 28-1 is zoned village. I have another map which shows a larger display of it. And as you can see, the property that is zoned village is 15,320 square feet. On that property is a house and a septic system. And it would facilitate the move to be able to move into a piece of property that already has that equipment in it. And then, of course, my display area would go towards the back of the property line. Any questions?
Does that complete your presentation, Mr. Hirsch?
Yes.
Would you turn the view graph off then, please? Thank you. I'll ask for a comment from Mr. Stanton first.
Mr. Moderator, since this is a request for a zoning change, I'd like to ask if you'd let John Paven of the Planning Board speak to it first, and then the Selectmen will speak to it.
Surely.
I'd like to read a brief summary of the Planning Board's position on this article. On March 14th, the Acton Planning Board voted to recommend against adoption of Article 56 at town meeting. The petitioner, Neshoba Valley Trailers, made a brief presentation to the board in which it stated its intention to completely relocate its business to the subject half-acre site on Route 2A in combination with an adjacent 2-acre site. The requested zoning change is required to allow the petitioner's stated use of the subject site. The board also held a public hearing on the zoning article, and no public comments were heard. The board based its recommendation mainly on two issues. First, the change does not further the planning intent of, and may ultimately harm, the programmed East Acton Village. Extensive townwide zoning changes at the 1991 town meeting created this village zoning district and recommended a subsequent, more focused evaluation and refinement of this area. The study, which will produce detailed zoning and other directives, is planned to begin in the near future. Removing land from the village district is not prudent unless it is compatible with the recommendations of the upcoming East Acton Village Plan. This town meeting just implemented zoning changes which were a portion of the outcome of just such a plan for West Acton, demonstrating the benefit of this village planning process. The second reason, although it is the stated intention of the petitioner to use the site for a specific purpose, and the board and voters may be considering this article with the relocation of this use in mind, there are many obstacles which could prevent this from ultimately happening, such as changes in business or financial conditions, or issues which may come under scrutiny during the site plan review process. If this article passes and the petitioner does not relocate due to forces within or outside of its control, Acton will have already rezoned the land, thereby making possible such uses as light vehicular and equipment sales, motor vehicle repair, and auto body shop, which are not allowed under the site's current zoning. The proposed limited business zoning would also remain if the petitioner were ever to close its business or relocate to another site. These two issues left the planning board uncomfortable with the short and long-term impacts of the proposed zoning change on the East Acton Village, and the planning board urges you to consider its position and vote against this article.
Now, Mrs. Penn.
The Board of Selectmen in an article like this takes its guidance from the Planning Board, as Norm described under an earlier article, and supports the Planning Board's decision to not recommend this article. I did speak with Mr. Hirsch, and I appreciate his position very much. In addition to being interested in the potential for redevelopment of the North Acton Village site, which was proposed under the master plan, however, the concerns that John has expressed for the Planning Board have guided our decision, and I believe they're very real. There are other communities, I know one situation in Concord in the past where a site was rezoned for a specific person and a specific purpose, and then later on the property was sold, and that was a concern that John alluded to. Further, the requirement in our zoning bylaw that use changes can be made only at town meeting was not intended to make it impossible for such changes to ever occur. This is a concern which I had about this article, and I want that to make that very clear. It was made to ensure that since town meeting adopted zoning with a 2/3 vote, it makes the decision to change it. I'd like to encourage Mr. Hirsch to work with the planning board to see if there is a way to address his needs, either with the other 2 acres or at another site, in a way that the planning board sees is in the best interest of our planning goals.
Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee has no recommendation because it does not have a financial impact on the town.
Katie?
Bill Katie, Strawberry Hill Road. Good to see you again, David. I have a couple of questions for you. One is, why are you moving this and not the owner? I have a few questions. Could I go through them?
You want to go through all the questions?
Yeah, there's a few series of questions.
Well,
I have specific information.
Let's try to limit go right ahead. Go ahead. I just want to limit the questions to ones that are pertinent, and go ahead.
Well, I want to give you a couple of examples. One is, why are you doing it and not the owner? Number 2, why can't you just buy the 2-acre lot and not rezone the other? Will the owner allow you to buy the parcel that is properly zoned without buying the other section?
He'd like to sell the whole thing. He bought it as one piece, and that's why he would like to sell it, because he realizes that if he breaks off the 2-acre portion, he really loses the parking for the house, and it loses its purpose. I am the owner of Neshoba Valley Trailers. My father broke apart the different companies, and that was one of the ones that I received.
Do you have more questions, Mr. Katie?
Yes.
Go ahead.
what arrangement do you have with the owner to prevent this situation occurring? Do you have a guaranteed purchase? Why isn't the owner here moving this article with you?
I asked my brother to move it for me. Simply that. The owner does know about it. He was here for the first two nights. I do have a offer on the property, and there is a deposit on it, but that's pending what happens at this article.
Sure. What other sites have you looked at in town, and why is this site, isn't there other sites available? The property up the street, just not very far away, is Warren Rental just moved out of that site. It's not quite as large, but it is quite a large parcel, and it has a building already existing. It's got parking space.
I put a deposit on this site back in September, October, and started getting signatures at that time, and I thought there was going to be a town meeting in December or January. And I felt obligated to at least go through with my half of the situation, since I had already tied up the property for quite some time. I have not investigated that piece of property that you talked about, even though that has now come on the market. I know the facility there would need massive modification for me, whereas the facility, there is none on the other property, and I think cost to move in would be less expensive because I would have to very much modify the building that's there right now at the old Warren Rental. It's not high enough for my units.
One last question.
Yeah, final question.
Can you, if we don't change the zoning for the part of the parcel, can't you use the facility, the space in the back for operations, and put in a new facility, whatever you need in terms of what your requirements are, and keep the aesthetics of the parcel that's within the village, within the requirements of a village designation, and work with the planning board to accomplish that?
The 2-acre site, lot 28 that I showed, I would look for another site. The 2.5-acre site in total is marginal with the setback requirements and everything that are necessary to the septic system for my type of operation. Getting down to 2 acres, I operate a facility on 2 acres in the town of Air, and it gets very, very cramped, and I actually have no setback requirements on the property that I'm using right there. And in this situation, there would definitely be setback requirements.
Gentleman at the back.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jack Whittier, 76 Alcott Street. I quote Mr. Hirsch, "This is not pleasant to look at," and he's referring to his present location. I'm not sure that relocating that to the East Acton location is going to make it any more aesthetically pleasing. In fact, to me, and a number of other people have gone by it, it's an eyesore as it is. On point number 5 on Mr. Hirsch's slide, he claims that moving would alleviate the congestion in Quarry Road. To my way of thinking, if you translate that, it's going to congest the traffic pattern around Concord Street and Route 2A. And I think if you check with the police department, you'll find out that there are enough accidents occurring at Route 2A and the intersection of 2 right now. The practical implications of this thing are, number 1, the traffic impact, and number 2, the aesthetics. We don't need to destroy any more of the aesthetics in East Acton. I heartily agree with the planning board recommendation to support the defeat of this article, and I recommend everybody to vote that way.
Gentleman at the front microphone.
David Black, Central Street. I have a question for the town and for the planning board. If we vote this down, what else can can and/or will the town do to assist retain this business in the town? I mean, part of what I'm troubled by is that it sounded like part of the planning board's objection to this article, when translated into reality, says, well, we haven't got the East Acton Village plan done. It's going to take 12 to 18 months, and so we couldn't possibly think about doing anything in that area for that time period.
The major conflict the planning board sees is not necessarily in the use, but in that location because of the village district that's under consideration there. If you were around for the West Acton Village articles that were done the other night, there was an extensive process that was gone through. The product of that we saw the other night and was approved by the town meeting. That process has not yet begun for the East Acton Village.
I understand that. I live in West Acton. I participated in that process. I happen to live across the street from a commercial area in West Acton that compares to the commercial operation we're talking about here. I guess my position, I have a hard time understanding what all the objection is to this.
One of the reasons I brought up the West Acton Village is because it's an excellent example of how the initial district was formed, but through that further study, the limits were refined, the actual uses were refined, how exactly those work, and how you can entertain real-life situations that come up for specific development proposals. The line happens to be drawn and bisect the two parcels that we're discussing here tonight. Actually, one of them is the subject of the rezoning. The other one's already approved or already zoned for limited business, which would allow this use. So we're really talking about only a half acre of the 2.5 acre assembly. I mean, some people could say that losing a half acre from the village district is not a big deal. We don't know that yet because we haven't gone through the detailed planning process for that, and we're reluctant to start making modifications to the village until we've gone through that process.
Oh, excuse me, do you have another comment?
One more comment, then I'm finished.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, I know. You look at the two properties down the street from it. The next property down the street contains the decaying Victorian, which is now being offered on the market as a business site, and then you get into a serious strip mall and shopping center. I mean, it's I'm finding it hard to believe that preserving this as a residential district makes a whole lot of sense.
I think maybe you misunderstood.
I don't know that he was asking a question. I think he was just making a comment. Gentleman at the back.
Donald Nylander, 144 Great Road. I am opposed to the zoning change requested by Article 56. The East Acton Village District was established several years ago after much time and effort were expended, plus many public hearings and finally town meeting vote. It should not be disturbed until it reaches its ultimate goal, which would improve the appearance of Route 2A. To me, Article 56 represents a form of spot zoning and must not be permitted. Perhaps a better site than the Neshoba Valley Trailers would be where the Concord Auto Auction is located, if that business is relocated as being reported. Please join me and vote no on Article 56.
Mr. Hurst.
By moving the Neshoba Valley Trailers to Route 2A would help consolidate automotive-type vehicles like the Toyota, Chevrolet, and Mercury dealers to one section of town to allow consumers to go ahead and shop in one section of town. The present site on Quarry Road will continue to get more congested, especially if the recreation area is developed up in North Acton. The current site, which has been operated since 1967 as a recreational vehicle dealership, operates at a very difficult position. Being grandfathered, the town fathers have had in the past a constant battle. By going ahead and moving down to Route 2A, during the site plan preparation and the development of the site can be developed in tune with keeping a very cohesive landscape operation that will become part of the town rather than a blight on a section of the town. The other thing is that North Acton Village is going to go through the same type of zoning changes that West Acton Village and East Acton Village currently have or are going through. We're either going to go ahead and face the problem now and solve it, or look at it in the future. And I'm for one, solving things today and not putting them off.
Mr. Aronson?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, this time back as a mere resident as opposed to my other position. I'm greatly disturbed that the Finance Committee has chosen once again to recommend nothing with respect to articles that have to do with zoning changes. It seems to me that almost every zoning change, in fact, has an economic impact on the town. In fact, it's one of the major reasons why I persistently voted against the master plan, and the only major reason why I voted against the master plan, that in fact there appeared to be no economic impact study presented to the town meeting at the time. Here's a perfect example of the potential of losing a long-standing business in town, just the same way we might lose a long-standing resident in town by virtue of a zoning change for all of the right or wrong reasons. I'm not here to argue that. But it seems very important to me that the town meeting be advised on what the economic impact is and who else to ask but the Finance Committee.
Gentleman at the front microphone.
Robert Nyland, 378 Central Street. I have a question of the selectmen and perhaps of the other town meeting members. Doesn't this company have a poor history, a history of slovenliness? Don't I understand that about 15, 20 years ago, either the police department or the selectmen, I wasn't sure of the process, asked these people repeatedly to clean up their act?
Yeah, I think the question is probably out of order. And I'm going to rule it as such because I don't see much difference in attacking a person who speaks and a company who speaks. And it's kind of a borderline thing. And I'd rather not get into something that is subjective, such as the quality of service that a particular business offers, when we're really talking about moving changing zoning on a piece of land. And I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I do.
Thank you. Yes.
I just have a couple of quick questions for Mr. Hirsch. The first one, and with the permission of the moderator, I'll do them one at a time instead of bombarding him with a list.
Oh, thank you. I can remember them so much better that way.
The first question is, to what extent have you addressed with the owner of the existing plot any covenants you might include in the conveyance that would address the concerns of the zoning board about the long-term use of the property? And if you have had such discussions and you have such provisions, would you share them with the town meeting?
Mr. Hirsch.
Other than buying the property and establishing a recreational vehicle dealership there, I don't have any other covenants. It is just to move my operation over there and conform to today's zoning bylaw standards and site requirements.
Okay. My second question is, I've heard a couple of references to the grandfathering of your property. Would you please explain for us precisely how that restricts you and what the terms and conditions of that are?
The site that I now occupy is split by Quarry Road. On one side of it is a home that's really not used, and there is a service department. So there are two buildings on one side of the road. On the other side of the road, there is a long-term lease on, used to be Hagen's Field, a strawberry patch, and another building that's 120 by 30. When I believe we purchased the property
that sits between Quarry Road and Harris Street, which constitutes about half an acre. We conformed to the site bylaws at that time, but the problem is that it's very difficult to maneuver units around on a dirt subsurface. So what happens is that, especially during the winter and spring, they almost have to be parked anywhere because they get stuck. I can't tar it because I don't own it and because there are site restrictions. I can't put up a building because it's grandfathered, and I've gone to the zoning, not to the zoning board, but to the planning office in years past. It just doesn't permit me to do very much with it, so I exist in the site that's there. And I exist profitably, but it certainly doesn't enhance my reputation, the company's reputation, even though we have a good track record in the industry of servicing the customer. I would just like to enhance all aspects of my business.
Thank you, sir. I know things I didn't know before now.
Mr. Swenson? Yes, Mr. Moderator, the term spot zoning was used by a former speaker. I wonder if we might ask town council to elaborate a little bit on the concept of spot zoning, whether it may be considered applicable to this article, and if so, at what risk is the town?
Mr. Callahan.
As the slides have shown, the specific parcel that's being rezoned is a half an acre parcel that's between the limited business zone and the village district. So it's one of those parcels that really could go either way. And I think it's a matter for the town meeting to decide which is more appropriate. I don't really think it's a problem for spot zoning purposes. It's the chances of it being challenged, I think, is quite small.
Thank you. Lady at the back microphone.
Elizabeth Lyons, 311 Central Street. Can you put the second slide up again, please? The one that does the close-up?
The close-up one?
Right. Since it is only that little section there, I encourage people to vote to rezone it and make the whole parcel one parcel with one zone.
All right. Mr. Harris, would you turn the slide off, please? Thank you. Lady at the back microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Janet Murphy from Concord Road. I would like to second a previous speaker's suggestion that the traffic patterns at Concord Road and 2A are already bad. I think that to move a blight from North Acton to East Acton is not what we should do, and I encourage the town meeting to take this action to
Ms.
not...
Murphy, I'll tell you what. I'd like to let you finish your remarks, but I want to make a point. Do not want to have any business in this town that's a legitimate business called to blight on town meeting floor. I think that's an appropriate remark, and I please ask you not to say that again.
I believe Mr. Hirsch was the one that brought up the...
I just told you what I said, and I don't want you to call any business in this town a blight, nor would I want you to defame a person on
Yes,
town meeting floor. It's just a minor point.
Fine, Mr. Moderator. But I would encourage that the town meeting to exercise its control over the piece that should be village district and vote down this article. Thank you.
All right, I see no one standing. We will vote. All in favor of the motion as read, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. Let me do something. Would all in favor of the article please stand? There's probably too many for me to count. I can really count that high, but I'm not going to. Would we have the tellers come forward, please?
Okay, all in favor, please stay standing and please show your little, what color are these? Orange? Is this orange? It is orange, okay. This is 4. Everybody in favor of the motion is standing. We have all the yes votes. Would all those opposed please stand? All those opposed please stand. The vote on the motion is 58 yes, 97 no. The motion has lost. Article 57. Another zoning article. Mrs. Stanton moves that the zoning bylaws be amended as set forth in this article. Do I hear a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Mrs. Stanton. Yes, go right ahead.
The selectmen are presenting this article because we are the board that has been communicating with the town of Concord, even though it is a zoning article. As noted in your article summary in the warrant, Concord is under obligations to construct a purification plant in the near future for Nagog Pond, which represents 40% of Concord's water supply. The land near the pond is zoned for residential use, and a purification plant is not an allowed use in our residential districts. A use variance is not possible through the Board of Appeals because we no longer allow use variances, and changing the zoning on a single parcel just for Concord's purposes could be considered spot zoning. You may ask town council more about this in the future if you want. We believe the bylaw change proposed in this article is the best way to address Concord's needs and is also in our town's best interests, which I will address in a moment. We are proposing to change the definition of municipal use in our bylaw to encompass uses by other municipalities, but only by applying for a special permit from the Board of Selectmen. The zoning bylaw allows municipal uses in all zoning districts, but does not address uses by other municipalities outside of Acton. And I have 3 slides which have been provided by the town of Concord. The blue is Nagog Pond. The green, oops, I hope I get this right. The red is obviously Route 2A, right by Nagog Pond, and the green is Main Street. The 3.75 acre site is the one, actually Concord currently owns that. I believe since the time that they've owned the pond, but I'm not certain of that. The triangular site closer to the pond is the one that they would be acquiring. They would actually do this, which I'll explain to you in a minute, by carrying out a land swap with the Palmers, who currently own the triangular parcel in place of the one that Concord currently owns. This slide is really the same thing. It just shows slightly closer detail the currently owned parcel, the one that they would be trading for, its relationship to the Palmer's property. In fact, Concord has an article on their warrant. Their town meeting begins tonight to swap this land with the Palmers, who have, I have been told by the Concord staff, indicated a willingness to make this trade. Concord has an easement in either case for either of these parcels to do maintenance, and it is also discussing access with the owner of Acorn Park, which is a new project on Route 2A, for their utility lines. The third slide, which I will leave up here in case you have questions for the representatives from Concord later, is simply a picture of the proposed treatment plant. Hal Storrs, who is Concord's Public Works Director, and Ken Mariner, who is chair of their Public Works Commission, are present to answer specific questions if you have them at the end. Article 56 would change our zoning bylaw to allow the Board of Selectmen to grant a special use permit to other municipalities. Any such permit would be subject to our floodplain zoning and our groundwater protection requirements. and site plan review with a public hearing, putting it on a par with commercial development in town. A special use permit does allow the Board of Selectmen to deny a request on sufficient grounds, for example, that it would not serve a public purpose. And I'm making this clear because it's possible that you'll have concern about what other situations might come up in the future. It's very different from a special permit. It gives the selectmen much more discretion to deny it, and it must be for a public purpose. There are two principal reasons that we're asking you to support this article. First, there's a history of cooperation between our two towns. One example is that Concord's water system currently serves Acton customers along Route 2A. Another is that we have a mutual aid agreement with them which would provide emergency backup water supply in the event of an interruption in our water supply. Secondly, Concord is required to purify the water in Magog Pond by DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, and it's 40% of their water supply. If we do not adjust our zoning bylaw in some way to address this issue, this issue of other municipal uses, we may not be able to maintain local control over our zoning and development, and there will be a serious legal question left unresolved because Concord is under a mandate to do this. Our town council has researched for us this issue and believes that this is the best approach in our town's best interest. Finally, I know it's hard for you not to, in fact, even the town moderator alluded to it, resent a little bit the fact that Concord owns Magog Pond, particularly because we are not allowed to enjoy any recreational use of the pond, and I happen to live very close to it. There is a misperception, and this was very disappointing for me to hear, as well as the rest of the board, that Concord has only a 99-year lease on the pond, and that sometime soon we might get it back. In fact, the legislature permanently ceded the pond to Concord in 1884, and as I indicated before, it is a substantial portion of their water supply. Naturally, our first question as a board was whether, in return for our cooperation, our residents could, at a minimum, fish or canoe on the pond. While such activities could conceivably be approved by Concord's water commissioners, I understand that they are required under the Federal Clean Water Act to construct a very costly full filtration facility, which is not actually what you see before you. The town has been granted a waiver of this requirement if two actions are taken. First, a construction of this disinfection facility, and secondly, maintenance of their watershed area. They are taking some other actions to protect the watershed area around the pond, and it is on these conditions that they were granted the waiver. This waiver would be lost if the Water Commission is allowed any activity within the watershed. If you would like to hear further from Town Council about the legal questions, please ask. If you would like to hear about specific DEP requirements or the structure that is on the slide, the representatives of Concord can answer these questions. I urge you to support passage of this article not only because of the mandate that Concord is under, but because it is in our community's best interest as well.
Other comment on this article from the Finance Committee?
The Finance Committee has no recommendation on this article because despite our desire to be cooperative with Concord, we didn't see any financial impacts in this. It's more...
It's okay. Don't feel guilty just because Mr. Aronson wants you to answer these questions. Don't feel guilty about saying you don't have a recommendation. You ought to have one, but... No.
I have two questions.
Mr. Fingerman.
Two questions for Mrs. Fenton. Number one, if Concord builds a treatment plant in Acton, do they pay real estate taxes on it?
I'll answer the way DeRay did the other night. I tried to think of all the questions, and that one didn't occur to me. They must pay real estate taxes.
Someone might want to help Mrs. Fenton now that she doesn't have the answer. It's a pretty good question, I thought.
It's a good question.
The sense up there is no.
I guess the follow-up question is, if not, why not?
Well, the land that they own now was ceded to them by the legislature, which means they own it. And if they're, I mean, I'm guessing here, but if they're conducting a land swap, they will now own the other parcel instead of the one they currently own. The Palmers would own the one they currently own. If you own the parcel,
I own my parcel of land and I
let
pay
your way
taxes.
handle.
Mr. Hunter?
Again, the sense up here, there, of course, of municipal use, and we do get some modest payments in lieu of taxes in regard to the pond ownership, and we might have a similar situation over here, but basically we haven't been sending Concord a tax bill, to my understanding at least.
Well, I would ask, you know, it's one thing to have vacant land or land around a pretty lake like that, not bringing any tax revenue, but if we start putting in treatment facilities which have some structure and use, I think with some real value, I think we ought to strongly consider an agreement right up front for payment in lieu of taxes if we can't in fact go after taxes, and I think we should go after them vigorously. My second question is, the second slide that you had, would you put that back up, please? No, that one.
The last one.
The second one. It shows that as Town of Concord. Is that land owned by Town of Concord, or is that actually that plant in the Town of Concord?
Mr. Moderator, could I ask at this time that one of the representatives from Concord answer the question? I believe that's the pond, Town of Concord, the land around the pond. This slide was created by the Town of Concord.
Well, sure. Which gentleman from Concord would like to answer the question?
Ken.
Would you go to the microphone, sir? And tell us what
Hal
your name
Storrs,
is?
Public Works Director.
I'm sorry. What was your name, sir? Well,
Does he have to tell you? Oh.
well, he doesn't have to, but I couldn't hear it, Mrs. Fenton, when you said it. Let him tell me, maybe I'll hear it, and then we'll ask if they want to hear from.
Mr. Moderator, my name is Harold Storrs. I'm Public Works Director for the Town of Concord.
All right. And you can shed some light on this, and all in favor of hearing from this gentleman, say aye. Opposed, say no. You're on.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. The land, the label Town of Concord indicates that that is Town of Concord land. The pond does not show in that particular slide, but land around the pond is owned by the Town of Concord. And that area that